Don't miss the Can-Am Holiday Volleyball Showcase, North America's premier men's volleyball event. Experience and enjoy world-class athletes, coaches, and competition in Toronto this holiday season, December 28th to 31st at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre. Get your tickets while they last at www.cahvs.com. Early bird pricing ends soon. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Passing Dimes. My name is Josh Nickel. Unfortunately, my partner in crime, Dallas Keith, couldn't join me today, but as usual, we're going to let the guests do all the talking, and we've got an exciting one this week. Fans from the OUA will remember when the Ottawa Gee Gees were a part of it. She was one of the best up-and-coming left sides there. She finished her university career when they transferred over to the RSEQ, where she was a three-time second-team All-Star. She was also an academic All-Canadian, and she was named team captain in her last year. We're excited to have her join her all the way from Austria, where she's enjoying her first year of professional volleyball. So please welcome to the show, Caroline Lemay. Welcome.
Hi.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I guess the best thing to start with would be, how's Austria going, and how did you end up there? How did the pro contract go right out of university to playing pro?
So I knew I wanted to keep playing volleyball after because I wasn't done. So in probably the middle of my last year in university, I started trying to make a highlight video to be able to find an agent, because I had talked to a lot of people and that seemed to be the easiest way to get to the pro level. And so yeah, I worked on that a lot. I got my video done, and then I talked to some of my old teammates that had played pro, and they suggested a certain agent, and then I decided to go to contact him, and yeah, he was really interested, so everything went well from there. And then it was kind of just like a waiting game once that was done. So I kind of got the contract with my agent at the end, when the summer was starting, so after university. And then I waited a few months, and then I got 2 offers within a week, which was, yeah, interesting. And then, yeah, I found out people that played where I am right now, players from the past. And I was able to talk to them on Facebook, and they had a lot of insight, and they were really nice and literally told me everything about here. So I thought I had a pretty good, it felt like a nice place to be. It's not the best contract ever because of the starting point, but it's pretty good, and it's pretty homey, I guess, here. And even my agent was saying how it's a good place to start, as in it's secure, I guess, because they've had a lot of foreigners before, so they have the experience, and there wouldn't really be an issue with not getting paid or all that stuff. So yeah, I made my decision, and I think it's going pretty good so far.
Nice. So we like to name drop on the show a whole bunch. So who were some of the players that you spoke to, or did you speak to Lionel Woods at the University of Ottawa when you're still there? It seems like some players have turned pro coming from that program. So was he able to offer any advice, or any of the, like you said, the vets who were at the program who already started their pro careers?
Yeah. So I had talked to Lionel all through this because he knew I wanted to do that, and he had me in contact with Paul Graton's agency in Ottawa, and I talked to them about making my video and all that, and they kind of helped me. And then I talked to Kaiva. She played 1 year with us. She played 4 years at McGill, and then went, I think, pro for 2 years, and then came back, and then she did her last year with us at the Gee Gees. So she suggested this agent, his name is Juiced, and it's with the LT Volley agency, and I think they're based in the Netherlands. But yeah, and she said he was a great agent, And then when I went on their website, they had a lot of Canadian players on their agency, so it seemed like a pretty safe bet.
Nice. And you mentioned you got two offers, and you really did your due diligence to kind of find some background on the one. With the other contract offer, you don't have to say who, but could you do the same background, or did you have to try to trust your agent? Like, I'm just wondering if you're going in as a first timer, what do you try to do to figure out what's the best situation other than relying on your agent, I guess?
Yeah, so my other offer was, yeah, it was just like a first time foreigner, I think, for them. So I think they had one maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, but since then they were only local players. So it was their first year trying again with a foreigner. So not everything was like settled in, I guess. And I talked to my agent, and he was really nice and honest with me because, yeah, he was just saying that they didn't seem so sure about a lot of the fees for like the FIVB fees and all that. So yeah, he was just thinking that the offer that I accepted was more secure in that sense, because once they start to worry about all these fees, you start to wonder if they will be able to pay me in the end, especially since they haven't had a foreigner in the past years, I guess.
Right, right. Sounds like a lot of things to consider. So, yeah, let's just skip ahead. When you did accept your offer, tell us about, I guess, the town or the city that you're in, and how the club's treating you so far.
So it's a really nice city here. It's beautiful. There's so many things to do, and like it's pretty incredible that there's a team in the city. So it's like very touristy, and like, yeah, it's really really nice. And all of the people, so the language here is German, so it's, yeah, a little bit hard for in that sense. But all the people like connected to volleyball, they speak English, at least enough to communicate with me. So that made everything easier. But like everything outside of volleyball, so like when I go to the grocery stores and everything else, it's in German, and sometimes a lot of the like cashiers or people working there don't necessarily speak English. So I've like kind of tried to learn the basics to try to get around. But yeah, it's pretty good. And if you go into town, there's more tourists there, so like generally the people that work there will speak a little bit more English. So, yeah.
Nice. And I guess with you, you grew up speaking French at home, though, right? So it's lucky that you're bilingual, but you're not getting to use your French a lot, if at all, right?
No, I haven't really met anybody that speaks French here, so.
Lucky for you, you're bilingual. Nice. Growing up in Ottawa, I guess that helps.
Yeah.
Nice. Does your club have any other foreigners, or are you the only one with a bunch of, I guess, Austrian athletes?
So we are 4 foreigners this year. There's one from Spain, one from the States, and she already played here 2 years in the past, so it's her 3rd year with this club. And we have one from, I think, Croatia. Yeah.
Nice. And how are you finding the level overall? Like, was USports able to prepare you, or did you, I guess, have to step it up a level, or what would you say the level right now is for the Austrian league?
I'd say it's different. It's not the best level there is for volleyball. Mostly because a lot of the players are young. Like on my team, there's like a 16-year-old, but then there's also like a 32-year-old. So there's like a really big age difference.
Nice.
But yeah, and it's different because all the teams have some foreigners, and the foreigners are usually good players. Then you mix in the locals and the young people, so it's still a pretty good level. But yeah, it's not obviously the best level, but it's pretty good.
Now, does your league have a foreigner rule at all, or can technically all 4 of you be on the court at the same time?
We can all be on the court. I don't know if there is a limit of how many, but I know they do the Austrian Cup that they call, and so that's kind of like another league, I guess, where only the Austrian players are allowed to play. So, like, for example, this weekend, our whole team is playing on Saturday, and then on Sunday they have this cup game. So only the Austrian players are allowed to play. So us foreigners, we just kind of go and watch our team play.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. That's maybe unique to Austria, or maybe other teams have a foreigner rule, but not completely like exclude you like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's probably only in Austria. I've never heard of it before. But yeah, it's pretty cool because it gives them that opportunity. But they also don't play every weekend. And I think if they lose a game, it's over. So it's kind of like playoffs right away.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the structure of your actual league? How many clubs are in your league right now? Is it tiered, or is it kind of every club stays in the same league every season? Like, I guess you've only been there 1 year, so you're not sure about like relegation or advancement or anything like that. But
Yeah. I know there are different leagues, so I think there maybe is like 3 or 4 leagues, so like the first, the second, the third. But in the first league, so that's the one that I'm playing in. There we are 10 teams, and yeah, I think we play them every team maybe twice. And I'm really not sure how the playoffs work yet because I haven't gone there and I don't understand what. But
nice. So you mentioned you have foreigners and you have I guess native Austrians on your team too. How are you able to communicate and practice and on the court with them if their English isn't that strong?
Their English is it's not that bad at all. They all can speak enough to we all understand each other. It's just you can tell they have to think more when they're speaking in English. So for them, they prefer to just speak in German. Like when they're together, they usually speak in German, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But our coach is from Argentina, actually. So he speaks mainly Spanish, and he speaks English too, but also isn't great at it. But he doesn't speak German. So our coach has to speak in English, and he speaks sometimes a little bit slower to make sure that everybody understands. So that helped a lot because I didn't have this language barrier with my coach. So during the practice, I understand what's going on. And yeah, all the girls are pretty good. Like if they're speaking to me, they'll speak in English. And sometimes they speak to each other, and I don't understand, but then sometimes one of them will try to translate what they're talking about. So it's still pretty nice.
Nice. And how's the season going so far? Like how many games have you played? How would you feel about your own performance so far? I guess what are you looking forward to the rest of the way? As you're on a 1 year deal, right? So you're kind of just playing it out and hopefully get more exposure or return to this club.
Yeah, I'm on a 1 year deal. I'm really not sure what is going to happen next year. We will see. I'm hoping that I can get a good contract somewhere, but who knows? Yeah, we're currently 5th. And last weekend we just played the first team. And it went okay. It could have been better. We won 1 set, but then lost in 4th. So we still have a lot of work to do, but I think our team can be really good this year if we just keep working at certain things. But yeah.
Nice. And are you considered a starter? Like, are you happy with your own performance? Like, how would you feel personally about your game right now?
Yeah, I am a starter. All the foreigners, we are on the court most of the time, and I feel pretty good. I've started. My coach kind of made me start to do a jump spin serve, which I hadn't done since Timo.
I remember that. I was there.
Yeah. So I hadn't done that since 5 years now. And I think I only did it for maybe a month or 2. So I'm working a lot on that and getting it more consistent, but I feel pretty good about it. And my coach has been really good at motivating me and trying to push me to be better. So yeah, passing is still a little bit hard because the last 5 years I've been passing with the same people on the court, and now it's all new people.
Right.
Yeah, that's different, but it's starting to get better, and we're all working at it together. So.
Nice. And what is your schedule with this club? How often do you have like on court training? How often do you guys go to the weight room? And then is it one match a week, two match a week? Just give us a rough idea of what a typical week is for you guys in season.
All right. So it is a little bit tough for our schedule because we only have the gym at certain times, and we practice in two different gyms. So we don't have like a home gym per se. But we usually practice, so we only have one game per week, usually. I think that will be the same all season. And generally we play on a Saturday, and then the Sunday our coach just decided that it would be off, so the day after a game we have off. And then on Mondays we would have an evening workout and practice. And Tuesdays we have an evening practice. And then Wednesdays we'll have a morning practice where usually it's only like the foreigners that can go because the locals have school. And then we'll also have an evening workout and practice. And then Thursday we also have evening workout practice. And then Friday we'd have morning and evening practice. So yeah, that comes up to like 7 practices and like 2 or 3 workouts in a week plus the game.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned you guys have 2 practice facilities. Is that because your club is so big that they might have like multiple volleyball teams, like at different age groups? Or does your club also have a men's team, or maybe like the basketball team uses where your competitions are? Like what's the reason for the shift there that you're not always at like one home base?
Yeah, there are a lot of different ages to our club. I don't believe there is a men's team. I think we're only women. But there are a lot of younger girls, and I'm also going to coach some of those practices.
Nice.
But, the reason, I think, because the one gym is like smaller, and that's where most of like all the kids practice, I think, and we practice there twice a week. But then the other gym that we practice in is the bigger one, and that's the one that we play games in. And I believe they have to pay for every time we use that gym.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's why we kind of flip, because the other one is free, but then we also play in the other one. So, yeah.
Nice. So looking ahead to this time of the year, from most of the professional players we've had on the show, you typically don't get enough time during the holiday break to come home. So we talked before the show how close you are to a bunch of other countries. Is that going to be an opportunity for you to travel around a little bit? Or is your family going to come visit you? Like, what's the plan when you do get a break?
Yeah, for sure. So I get a break, I think, for like maybe 10 days that I can be like away from Innsbruck. And my boyfriend and my sister decided to come and visit me. So yeah, they will come, and I think we will meet in Switzerland somewhere. And then my boyfriend's like has his mom's family is in France, so we will try to go there for Christmas so we could have like a little family dinner, even though we're not home.
Nice.
And, yeah, try to kind of visit as much as we can in those days, and yeah, see what they want to see, because I've like been here long enough that I can see everything that's kind of close. But yeah.
Nice, very exciting. So let's circle back. So you grew up in Ottawa and you chose to go be a GG. What went into that decision for you to choose Ottawa U? Because I'm sure there was a couple other options. What did you really like about that university? And then we can get into the big switch of switching leagues here.
Yeah. So growing up in Ottawa, I never actually wanted to go to the University of Ottawa. I don't know, I just had this idea that I wanted to leave home. But then I realized the more I grew up, I really wanted to study in French. So that was one big deal. So it was either, because Ottawa U has bilingual for like everything. You can take all the classes either in French or in English. It was either this, or I would go on the Quebec side, where everything is in French, obviously. So I had a few options in Quebec. I was looking at Laval and Montreal. as well as Ottawa U, because the coach had approached me, and then I was kind of starting to see if that might be an option. And after doing my recruiting trips, I just really liked the environment when I went to Ottawa U. All the girls were like really welcoming, and it just kind of felt like I fit in, and it just felt like home, I guess.
Nice. And the team was very competitive when you got there. I believe both English sisters were still there, and a couple other athletes. What was it like stepping into that environment where you helped contribute right away, but there was also already a good core in place of leaders and highly skilled players?
Yeah, so the beginning was definitely a little bit rough, I guess, because they were all pretty intimidating players, I guess. They had played together for a long time, so they were comfortable together. So in practices, it kind of was scary sometimes as like a freshman, but I got used to it very fast. And they were the kind of players that could be like hard on the court, but then as soon as you walk out, they're like the nicest people ever. So it was good in that sense. And yeah, I just loved getting to practice with them and seeing those types of players. And then I only got to play with like the English twins and Steph for a year, and then they graduated. So it was kind of, we lost like a big core group when they left, so we had to like kind of step it up right away. I guess.
Definitely. So you were a part of the change where they left the OUA and joined the RSEQ. Did the athletic department speak to any of the teams directly? Like, did you guys get an explanation of why the change was happening, or were you guys just happy to kind of save on some travel? Because being without having a men's team, like, you guys would always just travel by yourselves, and I imagine a road trip to, say, Windsor is not the most enjoyable experience in the winter.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't like a secret thing. It was talked to us as they were trying to make it happen, and it was good because it saved a lot of traveling. It's a really high level league, and because we saved so much money, we were able to get more like scholarship money for all the girls. So those were all positives, and we kind of did every girl's like positives and negatives that they thought about doing this change, or like what are the most important things for you? Is it scholarship? Is it, I don't know, all these different things? So we got everybody's opinion on that, and then they finally decided to accept us in their league, and it just made a lot more sense for our team to switch over. And I think our hockey team was already in the Quebec League for I don't know how many years, so we knew that it was possible, and it was a lot easier for them. So
do you know when you left, is all of Ottawa's athletic programs now part of the RSEQ?
No, I think it's still only hockey and us volleyball.
Now, did you notice a difference, or was the caliber about the same? Like going from Ontario to Quebec, was there any difference as far as like the skill or the depth of the leagues?
There was definitely a difference because in Ontario there are a lot of teams, and there are like also a lot of different level teams. So you have like the few top teams that are always really good, and then you have the middle teams. Whereas there's just a lot, and you can't like game plan so much because you play different teams like every weekend. Whereas in Quebec, I feel like every team is like a really high level, and there's only 6 teams. So in the year, we literally played every team 4 times. So there was a lot of game planning and a lot of knowing every single player and them knowing us. So we had to like figure out more ways to kind of play around that and try to figure them out while they try to figure us out.
Yeah, for sure. So going from Ontario, once again, like you would play somebody maybe first semester and then play them again the second semester. What was the schedule like in Quebec? Would you guys play the same team twice in the same weekend, or was it still kind of one and then wait and see them again?
So we would play every team twice before Christmas and twice after Christmas, but usually they weren't in the same weekend. It was like kind of spread out. Sometimes not like the best spread, I guess. But every season was a little bit different, and sometimes with Laval because they were the farthest team, which for us, like compared to Ontario, really isn't that far.
Right.
But they sometimes decided, like I think one of the years we did double headers with them, so they came once before Christmas. We played two games, and then we went to them after Christmas and played two games.
Now, you mentioned this going from 6 teams, and I'm just looking at the standings right now. It looks like Ontario has 14 teams, so just over double the amount of teams. So, can you kind of walk us through what your coaching staff would like to do with less teams? Like you said, you can be way more focused. Would you guys be watching video like the whole week leading into a game, or what would a lead into a competition weekend look like for you guys?
Yeah, we would definitely watch video like all the time because we had no choice. Whereas like in Ontario, we could generally focus on like the first game or like the best team that we were going to play in the weekend. We would focus on them during our practices and then do a little bit of video in between the games to figure out the second team. Whereas in Quebec, we really had to work on both teams during the whole week. So we definitely did a lot of video either by positions with the whole team or like they gave us like homework to do it alone at home, or just kind of on our own decided to watch more video. And you get to, because you just play them so many times, you get to know the players and what their like favorites are, and we kind of try to prepare for those. And we know that they all do the same for us, so we also have to change up our game at the same time.
Nice. And has that prep help you in the professional ranking? Like, how much adjustments are you guys making with your pro club right now, or how much video are you watching on a game week?
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like it's less. There's less video to watch here because like we are 10 teams, so there is more difference in the teams. But we also only have one game every weekend. So during the week, we're only preparing for one game. So generally, we'll have maybe 1 or 2 sessions of video with our coach where he like prepared a bunch of like highlights, I guess, for either from our game of the last weekend to like analyze what we need to work on, or before the next game, he'll have like their top hitters, and show us just like their kind of average, like where they hit most and what they do, like what are their favorites. So there is like still a lot of that stuff, but it's just less, I guess, and the video is less accessible than it was in the Quebec League, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So I guess in the Quebec League, just the home team's responsible to film, and they put it on a shared server. Where you're saying the Austrian League doesn't have the same policies.
Yeah, like we in the Quebec League, we worked with VidSwap, which is I think everybody had to post their games there, but then each team chose what kind of bundle they wanted. You had to pay more to get whatever all the options, and I think our coach, like our team, decided to like invest that money, and so we had access to all the games, and you could pick whichever like player, and then you could see just all of that player's hits, all of that player's serves. You could pick all the different things. Like the game was already like edited, I guess, so you can see all the parts. So it's really easy to do video with that. Whereas now there is not that option. So if I want to watch something, I have to either try to go through a whole game. It's not always the best angle either, and I don't always know where to find the video, so I have to ask my coach. But it's still accessible. It's just not as easy to get to.
These university students, they don't know how lucky they have it.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice. So you mentioned earlier that you started putting together a highlight video in your last year. But with you being an academic All-Canadian, I'm sure you just could have put your degree to work. What kind of made you want to make volleyball your first occupation? Was there, kind of a moment that confirmed that you could play at the next level, or you just weren't ready to give up playing? Like, what kind of led you to chasing down an agent and taking the trip?
Honestly, I just didn't see myself being done with volleyball yet. And like, yeah, I just feel like I had so much more to give, and I just needed to keep going now because also if I wait, there's just no point because now is like the prime time. I just finished university and I've just played at a high level, so I might as well use that like with me to go and try to play again at a high level right away, because if I decided to wait, and I know that I would want to play again, and if I waited, then it would be harder to try to get in again. And yeah, because I was already out of the high level, I just thought I might as well go for it now.
Nice, very cool. When we had Becky Pavin on the show, she mentioned kind of the difference between volleyball right now and say like a North American sport is it seems like our professional athletes that we get to watch on TV all the time, they'll sign long deals, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years at a time or whatever. Volleyball players are always signing the one and done deal, and she mentioned she enjoyed it because you're kind of betting on yourself, and you can pick a new club if you didn't like it, or you can visit different countries. How are you experiencing with the 1 year deal? Are you looking forward to kind of just getting more experience and maybe going to a different league next year, or are you just taking it one day at a time? Like, how does it feel knowing that you really only have this season to kind of prove yourself?
Yeah, so I've kind of seen this as I see this as an opportunity to like put myself out there, and because nobody knows me, like before I was here, nobody knew me overseas, like only in my university league they knew me. So coming here is kind of like putting myself out there, and I'm just trying to improve more and more, and I just want to see to like which level, like which league I can get to, like maybe in the next few years, and see, yeah, just see where this brings me.
All right, so we've learned a lot about where you are in the world and kind of how you got there. I don't know if you've listened to a previous episode, but Dallas and I always like to end the episode with just a funny story that volleyball has kind of presented you, a unique situation that I don't know. People know you're a professional athlete, but stuff still happens to volleyball players that puts us in odd situations. So, do you have any experience either in your travels or your short time being a pro athlete or something in university that happened that you're kind of like, huh? Even though I'm at the highest level of my sport, I still have to go through like these weird experiences.
Yeah, for sure. So when I got here, I have kind of a story about that. So when I left, my club booked my flight for me. So I just showed up to the airport and all that, and then the people at the airport told me that my luggage wasn't going through all the way. So I had 3 flights. I had one from Ottawa to Halifax, Halifax to Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt to Innsbruck. So in Frankfurt, my luggage wasn't going through, so I had to get my luggage, check it back in, go through security again to then go on my flight. And I only had 2 hours in Frankfurt. And if you know, Frankfurt is a really big airport. So I was kind of nervous about that part, but there was nothing I could do at this point, so I just went for it. And when I got off the plane, I think I waited maybe 40 minutes to get my luggage so that I would come out of the plane. And so that was basically half of my time done. So then I try to find my way out and back to like where you would check in, and I have these 2 big suitcases that I'm carrying because I have all my stuff for the next 9 months with me. And so I'm trying to figure out my way through this big airport where there's so many people. And I finally found where I should check in, and then I go through this massive line that took probably the other half of the time. And then I check in, and everything goes through, and then I have to run to security, go through security, but then my bag wouldn't, like they had to check my bag again and make it go through again, so wasted another like 5 or 10 minutes. And then I ran to my gate, and as soon as I got there, they're like, oh, you're too late. And so I missed my flight by, I believe, 2 minutes.
Ah.
Yeah. And it's only because when you get to the gate, because it's such a big airport, they make you take a bus from the gate to the plane. And because it was a bus, they had to leave. They couldn't wait like 2 minutes for another passenger, so they had to leave. So that's the only actual reason why I missed my flight. But then I'm freaking out because I'm alone in Frankfurt. And I try to contact the people from my club, and I only have 2 numbers. One was my coach, and one was the president of the club. And neither of them were answering me. And so I'm kind of freaking out at this point. And the people from the gate were like, oh, you should go see at this desk, they will help you. And that was like the flight people from so I was with Lufthansa for my last flight, so they made me go to their office to have them figure out. So I go there, and then they tell me that there's nothing they can do. I have to buy a whole other flight, which is like 400 euros. And yeah, that was just a mess. And so I'm freaking out, trying to figure out if there's another way I can get there, and they're still not answering me. And then my big flight was with Condor, so another air flight. And so then I had to find my way to their office, which I had to go through the whole airport, which is, again, massive. Took me forever. And then all this time I'm trying to call these people. I'm like talking to my family back home because they were answering. And I think my dad called the president of the club here, and he got a hold of her. Anyways, that was very complicated. And then they finally answered, because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to this new country, and now nobody's answering me, so maybe this was a whole joke. They're not actually going to be there. But then they answered, and then I went through the other office, and then they were really nice, and they figured that it was their mistake that my luggage didn't go through, and so after all, they gave me another flight for free, so I made it safe after all this panic.
That would have been the worst trick of all time if you just arrived and there was no club and you just got catfished by some volleyball agent. That's just not funny.
Yeah, it wasn't really funny in the moment, but now I can laugh about it.
Was there somebody waiting at the last airport you were at to drive you to your house, or how did you know where to go once you landed?
Yeah, so the airport in Innsbruck is where I landed. It's a pretty small airport, like really small. I think we were just our tiny little flight there, and I just followed the people, and I had no idea who I was looking for because, I didn't know their face. And so I just walk out, and there's like 3 people standing and waving at me. Like, all right, I guess it's these people. So I just walked to them, and then they said hi. They drove me to my apartment. They basically just dropped me off and left. And then, thank God, one of my roommates was already here, and she had been here for a few days, so she knew a little bit around, so she kind of helped me to like get food and
Oh, you get to live with one of the other foreigners on your team?
Yeah, we're actually 3 in the apartments, and one of them is from Spain, and the other one is just from Austria, but in a different city, so she's staying in the apartment with us.
Oh, nice. Sadly, you're not the only indoor players who's told us that they've got to the airport and basically got in a random car because the person was nice to them. I think it's a little unnerving to know that indoor players are just getting in the first car for somebody who waves to them. I don't know if that's the best airport security our sport should be offering, but
yeah. I mean, I kind of recognized, I guess, their face, but they also knew who I was, so I guess you just gotta trust it and go for it.
Did they have a sign with them, or how do you know? Like, usually at like Toronto Airport, you see the people who are like well dressed and have a sign. Like, I think that's the official way to do it, but
yeah, I thought they would, to be honest, but considering how small that airport is, it just wouldn't really make sense. They were like the only people standing there, so.
Sure, you'd have to be pretty creepy just to hang out at an airport and wave at random people hoping that they would go with you. So I'm sure it's safe. I'm overthinking this maybe, but I don't know. You're not the only person who's told a similar story where I'm just like, why do indoor people just not know who they're getting in a car with? But anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it was better to be with them than stuck in Frankfurt alone. So.
Yeah, you had spent enough time in airports that you were just ready to go wherever. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm glad to hear you're doing well. We got to work together on Team Ontario way back, and I think you've always been an easy person to root for. So happy to hear you got a contract your first year at university, and that it's going well and you're enjoying it. And thanks for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think with the time zone change, we better call it there because you've got professional athlete things to do, and I'll just get back to my normal volleyball empire that Dallas and I are building here. But we'll have to have you back on once you've kind of gone through a season and can explain the playoff structure and kind of what it's like to try for contract number 2. But yeah, you're always welcome, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Movember is the leading charity dedicated to changing the face of men's health around the world. This Movember, whatever mustache you grow, will save a bro. Donating to Movember will help raise funds and awareness for prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health and suicide prevention. There are lots of volleyball bros growing their mo that you can donate to, or if you don't know anyone, yours truly and Passing Dime's own Josh Nicol is raising funds for Movember. Head over to mobro, mobro.co/Josh Nicol, JOSHNICHOL, to donate.